Okay. All right, so I already have some cards laid out. Hello out there for anyone watching. So the overall energy that I got for this reading was about like stagnant energy and kind of feeling like you're progressing, but at the same time it's taking a long time. So the first card that I have out is the Hanged Man. And excuse me because I'm like experimenting with film here. Oh, okay. I noticed that when I was recording, that the words were in reverse because of the way I was recording. So, that was a weird noise my cat just made. So the Hanged Man. I hope it's in frame. I hope it's clear. So the Hanged Man, of course, talks about seeing things from a new perspective, but it also talks about a temporary but necessary waiting period. And this specific card talks about it being necessary for the highest good of all. And when I look at this card, again, I don't know how well it's being shown here, but it almost looks like it's just a little thin little chain, like a necklace. And this particular deck, which is the Good Tarot, talks about, it depicts fairies, a lot of, or creatures that look like fairies. So often people think, I thought it was funny that it looked like it was hanging from a necklace, because often people think about fairies as like this little tiny little thing like Tinkerbell. And when I was looking at this, it almost looks like there's in the distance, like you can't see it completely because there's condensation and clouds, but it almost looks like there's a planet coming in the distance. Like a new planet being birthed. And then to further explain that, using the Muse Tarot, we have the Four of Inspiration, or the Four of Wands. So usually the Four of Wands talks about, some type of celebration, gathering, a culmination. But when I look at this card, I feel like this is almost like these four women are coming together on like an imaginary plane. We can call it imaginary plane. That they're there they exist together energetically, but they are not physically together, because this looks like again a dream realm. This looks like a realm that isn't based in what we would consider reality. And then on top of that, like how there's like these little colored strings coming from each person's crown, their crown chakra. I feel like this is like an example of coming together, and it doesn't have to be like mystical or whimsical. The first thing that popped in my head was like a Zoom meeting, something like that, where people are coming together, even though they're not physically together, they're still finding ways to come together and collaborate. and send that energy out into the universe, into the world, for it to manifest to whatever it's going to manifest into. So with these two together, I think this is talking about people being innovative and creative and coming up with new ways to communicate, and to co-create with people, other people that are in their environment. And also new and innovative ways to co-create with space. And by space, I don't mean like, I mean, it could be outer space, but like, people look at technology like it's not magic because it makes sense. But people that understand magic don't look at it as something amazing or wonderful or like mind-blowing, because they understand how it works. And technology is the same thing. It's literally like a type of magic that people kind of take for granted because they're just like, oh, well, we know what that is and that makes sense, so it's not like amazing or something. It's actually pretty amazing if you think about it, because I mean, when I was a kid, I would never imagine, again, like a Zoom meeting or a meeting that we can all have in different places and come together simultaneously at the same time. And the time here is different from other places. Like I was just watching this lady, Baca, I can't think of her actual name, but she's like a wonderful astrologer and a channeler. She channels the Pleiadians, and oh my gosh, I lost my train of thought. In any case, she I watch her on YouTube, and even though like I'm watching her on YouTube and I may not necessarily even be watching a live of her, I'm still able to directly communicate with her through comments. And she's one of those YouTubers that actually reads every single comment and usually replies to every single comment. So it's like making those connections with people. We feel like it's on a temporary hold. But you gotta put, it depends on your perspective on it. It could feel like a hold, or it could just feel different. But this is saying, this hangman specifically says, especially in this deck, that this is for the highest good of all people. So it's time for people to, this is pushing the limits of what we were used to, and the change is forcing us to come up with new and innovative ways to co-create and communicate with each other. And then the next card that came out, and I'll show it in the upright just to show it. It seems like every single time I use this deck, which is not very often, this card comes out every single time. And it's kind of annoying at this point for me personally. And it comes out in the upright and reverse, but this time it happened to come out in the reverse. So this particular card in this deck, because they replaced the element, the symbols are based on elements, not on the items that they're normally associated with. So air, swords is changed to air. So with that change, the meanings dramatically change for this particular deck. So it's saying that in the upright, it's saying there's a yearning to strike out on your own, to live your way, and to rebel against what the norms are and what's expected of you, to live independently. So with it being in the reverse, I feel like this is saying that a lot of people right now are feeling kind of like they are being forced to be a little more independent, and to have that alone time with yourself versus being around so many other people, because of this temporary pause and a new outlook. The Not only is it a temporary pause, but it's forcing you to see things differently. So that's part of why this is needed, because it's time for us to decide as individuals how we're going to navigate this new world that's unfolding, and again, it doesn't have to be like some mystical, like a new earth is being created. No, the new world is unfolding right before our eyes with everything that's going on. Oh yeah, that was something else. She was talking about, the astrologer was talking about, there's like this intense energy with Uranus and Saturn. I forget which one is doing which, but one is trying to like jet us forward like super fast, like this Chariot card here. That's what the Chariot does. But the other big planet, because Uranus and Saturn are, well, Saturn's bigger, but only because of the rings. But as far as mass goes, they're kind of matched in size. So they're like pulling and opposing forces. So the other planet is pulling back and like kind of like forcing that stagnation. So I definitely feel that energy. And it's funny because I pulled these cards and then I had to go to the bathroom. And then while I was in the bathroom, because yes, I'm one of those one of those people that take the phone in with me to the bathroom. And I was listening to, and I got a notification she was live. So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll listen to her. And she was talking about that. And I was like, that's kind of crazy, because that's exactly what was coming up in the reading. And oh, look, my candle just went out. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's saying to pay attention to that message right there. So with that back and forth pull, it can start to feel like a little crazy and hectic, but you have to kind of center yourself and regroup. And that's part of finding different ways to, come together, whether it be with yourself or other people. And then to further explain the Seven of Air, is the Tower in reverse. And again, in this deck, the Pentacles is changed to materials. So we got the Tower in reverse and the Page of Pentacles, or a Page of Materials. So with these two energies together, in this particular deck, they talk about the Tower kind of being like a puzzle maker and like bashing everything apart to find the intricate diamonds that are hidden in the structures that never had a chance to emerge if it wasn't for this Tower energy. So with it being in the reverse, I feel like the Tower has already come, and now we're left to pick up the pieces, and we're left to do it on our own with our own devices and our own schemes on how to deal with it, and how to deal with it in a productive way. And the Page of Pentacles is here. The Page of Pentacles is a beginner in earth magic and manifesting. And you can see, like, it looks like she's looking at that big huge rose, and you can see it happening in mid manifestation. So this is talking about somebody that's doesn't want to be a leader and telling people like, look, you can do this, but they want to show what they're doing, not because they're trying to brag, but because they want other people to see that they're capable of doing it too. Because this is just a page. This is somebody that's inexperienced and doesn't really know what they're doing, but they're working with the earth magic around them. And another thing with towers is, look at that energy coming out, that burst of energy coming out. So tower moments can be, well, tower moments are highly destructive, but it's a destruction with a purpose. Just like the Hanged Man here, there's a purpose. Again, these are the Hanged Man and the Tower are major arcana cards. These are talking about the divine stepping in and having a hand in what happens. And often when the divine steps in, they don't just do one thing. They do one thing. Well, they don't do one thing that just does one thing. They'll do one thing that does like 500 things at the same time from them doing that one thing. Because they have the foresight and the perspective to see many different sides of the same coin. And a coin has more than two sides. Trust and believe that. So this is talking about, with these cards together, it's saying that during this time, even though you may feel like you're alone, you have the ability and knowledge already embedded within you to transmute this energy to whatever it is you want, to whatever it is that you're focusing on. She's focusing on this rose, and that's what she's getting. And that's just an example. And this is something that you have to do alone. This is something that others can show you, but the only way for you to do it is to do it. No one can give you instructions on how to do it. You have to figure it out on your own. And by on your own, of course, I mean physically on your own. Energetically, you are never on your own. And this is becoming more and more clear with this Hangman energy. And then we have the Chariot. The Chariot here. There's a lot going on with this card. So in this deck, oddly enough, this particular card talks about stagnation also, which normally that is not the case with the Chariot. But this card is also showing the opposing nature of reality, where the darker horse is looking one way and the lighter horse is looking another. And the person riding the chariot is depending on those animals to work together, which isn't always going to be the case. And in fact, the only thing that keeps these animals working together is the will of the charioteer. But if you also notice, it looks like she's on a merry-go-round, and horses on the merry-go-round just go around and around in a circle and they don't go anywhere. So I feel like this is talking about, you feel like you're progressing, but at the same time, you're very frustrated because you feel like you're just going, repeating cycles. but if you pay attention, you're repeating the cycles because you're not gaining all the information that you need to gain in order to complete the cycle. So that's why the cycle is completing. But as you continue to go on your trip around the cycle, each cycle, you gain more knowledge and you realize that this is part of the journey as well. Eventually you're going to get off that ride, but for now, this is what you're doing. And again, after I got done listening, while I was listening to Batya, I feel like I'm irritated with myself. I can't remember her whole name. I started playing, I could listen to her while I was playing a game. So I was listening to her and playing a stupid little game. And then when I clicked on the game, it was like, ooh, you get a half hour free. So I sat back down to do this reading. And I was like, I'm just going to use up this half hour and then I'm going to do this reading. And then while I was listening, when she was done, Eckhart Tolle came on after her. And I was listening to him and kept playing the game, and he said something that stuck with me, that just now popped up in this. But he said, people are constantly searching for someone else to be in a relationship because they are searching for that one person to make them complete and make them happy, which is setting yourself up for failure, because you're never going to find that. You're never going to find one person that's going to give that to you, because that's something, you're ultimately, what you're really looking for is God. And you can really only find that through allowance. And I'm going to add my little tidbit and say, the reason why you'll never find it in another person is because you fail to see it in yourself. And that's why you're looking to other people to find it. And that's why this is, that's why this pause is happening. That's why we're being forcibly disconnected with so many people and being, in this space where we need to be more comfortable with being by ourselves. We need to be more comfortable with all the voices that we hear in our head. We need to be comfortable with talking to ourselves out loud. People say, oh, you're crazy if you talk to yourself and you answer yourself. I've been talking to myself and answering myself for as long as I can remember. And as I go on and on through this journey, more and more fun things are happening in my head that I couldn't even begin to explain. But I'm just going to go with it, rock it out. And again, that's talking about the cycles, because I've been by myself pretty much my entire life. Like, of course, I have family and I've had lovers. And I have, a child and pets. But ultimately, I've always been by myself, especially with my ideas and thoughts and beliefs that I've always had, that I've learned a long time ago, that I couldn't really express those things to people because people are afraid of what they don't understand. And that was something that I understood, but at the same time baffled me, because I really didn't understand it, but I wasn't afraid of it. Say catch-22. Anyway, back to this. So we have the Chariot here, which she's going somewhere, but she's going nowhere fast. And I feel like that's too also talking about the reflection of what life was before COVID. Before COVID, we were always in a hurry to go nowhere. We're always worried about time, always worried about, oh my God, I got to go to work. Oh my God, I got to go to this appointment. Oh my God, I got to go to the store and get this and that and the other before the storm hits. And we're always in such a hurry to get nowhere, pretty much. Because if we didn't get there to wherever it is that we were going, it was just like, oh my God, like that didn't go the way I wanted it to go, and it's so awful, and da da da. But is it really that awful? Like, is it really? Are you still alive? Are you still breathing in and out? Are you still able to think and laugh and smile and cry and whatever else? Is it really that awful? So people just getting stuck in cycles and thinking that like, okay, this time it's going to be different, but it's just the same thing. Soon it's going to be time to get off this ride, but for right now, a lot of people are still riding around in circles on that cycle, on those cycles. And then we have the Six of Material in the reverse. So this is talking about, in the reverse, it's talking about not being abundant, and not sharing your energy, not putting out what you're getting back, and vice versa. So there's like an imbalance here. And it's because it's stuck in a cycle. I'm going to pull another card here. With this is actually where the reading starts to, it always, when I get to the center of the reading, I'm always just like, ugh, what is happening? Where is this going? Let me just, strength. All right, so another major arcana card here. I don't use this deck very often, but the traditional meaning of, you know, strength, this is talking about strength from love, from allowance, and I feel like what this is saying is the reason why the Six of Materials is in the reverse is because of being stuck in cycles. Having the ability and the equipment to move in a certain direction, but through familiarity, you're just stuck in that cycle. And that's what's cutting off the reciprocity, the equal give and take, the because you're so focused on getting off the ride instead of just focusing on what's directly in front of you and moving forward. And honestly, I can't tell if this is the sun or the moon behind her head there. I feel like this is also saying the reason why this is a stuck situation is because of the ego, because of the will. Because if you would just let these animals to their own devices, like this lion here, and just let it take you where it'll take you, you will find yourself in a place you've never been before. And that, of course, is the problem, because you feel like you can't go somewhere unless you're prepared, unless you have a map rooted out, and you know, you got plan A, B, and C lined up. This is all about allowance and letting life take you where it will, and working it out. And it's like she has like the infinity loop in her hand, but it's almost like it's like a lasso around the sun / moon, the celestial body, and it's connected to the lion and her. So this is almost like, this is like she's another charioteer, but instead of her decorating herself and being ornate and trying to force everything in her environment to be just so, and to move in just a correct direction, she's got her hand in it and she has her energy attached to it, but she's allowing the energy to flow and to take her where it will. And that will open up this, that will end this cycle, and that will open up abundance, because the only people to do that, that just fell on the floor. Okay, so I guess I won't say that. I was gonna say the only people that do that are gods. That's finding God, allowing yourself to be God. Trusting that whatever is presented to you in the moment is exactly what is needed in the moment, and to accept it with humble graciousness and love, and keep it pushing, even if whatever it is that you're presented with isn't the greatest situation. You making lemonade, right? Making lemonade from lemons. And then this next set is literally the King and Queen of Wands, but opposing each other. So the King of Fire here, he's embodying this dragon energy. And it's in the reverse, and I feel like it's in the reverse because kings lead people. They need to be the ones in charge in order to be the king. And it's in the reverse because this isn't about leading or following. It's about doing what you are passionate about, because fire is all about passion. And you can see he has the heart here lit up, and he's got the light, the sun around his head there. But in order for you to lead, you have to be very definitive and like draw the line on something. Because that's leading is essentially making rules for the people that follow you to live by. And this is in the reverse because allowance doesn't need a leader. In fact, it's counterproductive to allowance for somebody to be like, well, it's only this way. This is the way we need to go in order to find this thing. Or this is the way we need to be in order to find this thing or to be this thing. But then, boom, comes in the Queen of Inspiration here in the upright. And I think that's like that because a queen doesn't lead. A queen inspires. And it literally is the Queen of Inspiration. And if you notice here, the lines you see, let me make sure I'm holding it. The lines of how they repeat in these cards. So just with that, I feel like this is talking about what's needed now is for you to follow your inspiration, follow your passions. Because these women are definitely, I mean, it's the four of inspiration, but they're definitely coming together with a type of something that's driving them, some type of inspiration, some type of passion that's driving them to come together in this way. And this is almost like, I feel like you receiving these messages, these downloads that are not only coming from the divine, because in the first card there's only four strings. It's not only coming from the divine, but it's coming from the people around you and your environment around you as well. We are constantly being bombarded with messages, and I'm not just talking about like ads and advertisements, but I mean specifically like our inner monologue, our inner dialogue. Maybe some people don't necessarily always have an inner dialogue. They might see pictures and scenes and shapes and colors, and sometimes they might see math. Some people are really into math, and they that's how they break things down and understand things. So I think this is talking about, connecting with not only your environment, but making those important connections with your soul tribe. And you don't need to be the forefront or a leader of anything in order to make those connections and to follow them through. And again, I'm gonna pull another card. Can you tell me a little more about the King of Fire in the reverse and the Queen of Inspiration in the upright, please? Come on. Just give me a card already. Just give me a card. I never... Oh my gosh. These cards are great. Like, they're sturdy and they don't stick. No cards ever want to fucking pop out. They're like, just pick one. And I'm like, no. Just give me one. Okay. Fine, I'll pick one. I made a compromise. You gave me one and I picked one. The Knight of Pentacles in reverse. So Knights talk about making some type of offer, but there isn't an offer being made here. It's in the reverse. And the Knight of Pentacles, aka Materials, is the slowest moving knight in the deck. So let me just think about this here in the reverse. He's got that flower on his head. A lot of red and greens. There's a lot of passion and love, heart energy. Well, I think this is again talking about not going anywhere, like the stagnation part of it again. So this journey that we're on is definitely not in the physical. It is not in the 3D. Because this energy because the materials is the 3D, and it's not going nowhere. It could be like because it's in the reverse thing, fast moving energy, but it's not an energy that's offering anything, or as far as like a progression. It's energy that's flowing, and it's passionate energy. But it's not going to it's not going to be like the aha energy. It's just going to be like you have to digest it. You have to digest it and really chew on it, and then see how it interacts with, you know, your physical being, as well as your spiritual and mental, to really get a feel for it. And when it first comes in, it might feel one way, and by the time you digest it, it's going to feel another way. And then when you're done digesting it and it's kind of come into fruition to what it is going to manifest into, it's like something completely different. So yeah, that actually didn't help me clear that up at all. That made me feel like, what the fuck? So maybe that's what the energy is gonna make you feel like. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get these downloads and this information, and you're gonna be like, well, that's fucking great. What the fuck am I supposed to do with that? But I think it'll make sense in time. And by time, I mean when you're ready to see it for what it really is. And there isn't, you can't really rush that. And then we have the Fool. The Fool. And the Fool here, in this deck, they talk about this Fool has complete faith in faith. Like, this Fool doesn't worry about looking where it's stepping, because it trusts that wherever it steps, the environment will lift to meet its heel. This is, even though it's the Fool, honestly, it's like the smartest person here. Because they're totally not in their logical mind, and they're totally in their energetic mind. They're also blowing a little like trumpet French horn looking thing, kind of, sort of. And if you look at the formation around in the background, it looks like vibrations, but it actually looks like a carving in like a rock, but it's made to look like vibrations. So I feel like this is talking about transcending the third density and blending the other densities that you exist in simultaneously. Like, you're able to access multiple densities while you're existing in all of them. Usually your point of attention, like here in the Chariot card, where she keeps going around circles, or like here in the Page of Materials, where her point of attention is this rose, so that's what she's focusing on. Here, this is talking about like having all kinds of points of attention simultaneously at the same time. again, this makes me think about dreams, because I definitely feel like that in dreams. I don't ever feel like that. Well, that's not true. When I'm just in my head thinking about shit, especially when I'm doing tarot, I kind of feel like that about some things. And like how I make connections and it's hard for me to verbalize it, but I can visualize it, or maybe not even visualize it, but feel it. And then I try to like translate it. I feel like that's what this card's talking about. Even though it's supposed to be the Fool, and you know, in traditional tarot, that's like, you know, somebody that's just too young and naive to know any better. This one is too young and naive to not know any better. No one has gotten to this fairy looking creature to tell them and to beat it in their mind, in their head, that the things that they're experiencing and feeling aren't real, that it's just fake, it's imaginary. And that's often, again, the embodiment of children, of young people. They flourish in this kind of energy. They have imaginary friends, and they just go off on, they don't need much for toys. You know, they just like make up their own environment, and this is my doll Susie, her mom is Brenda, and you know, they just go off, and nobody's telling. As kids get older, they get told they're not allowed to think that way and be that way. And I think it's appropriate that it's like literally the last card that I drew in this, in the Good Tarot, because this is talking about a new cycle beginning, and this is a new magical cycle beginning. And to further explain the Fool card, we have the Five of Emotions, which is like the Five of Cups, and the Nine of Inspiration in reverse. So the Five of Cups here is talking about just doing a lot of shadow work. This is talking about doing a lot of shadow work and dealing with pent up emotions that have caused you to be cold and cut off from your environment, from your true nature. And when you deal with the things that you've pent up and locked away inside of you, when they come out, it usually comes out very painfully, or all at once. Just it's usually not fun. You know, shadow work normally isn't fun. And she has the moon close to her chest. So I kind of feel like this card is talking about like this energy of clearing out this dense, cold energy, that all that you need to release it is this love energy, this green energy. And what makes green grass grow? The sun. And the sun is not in this card, but the moon is being like kept like in a cage in her chest. This is also talking about releasing secrets, releasing things that you've kept to yourself, because things are hidden. The moon always talks about things that are hidden. So this is still a long way to go, because they haven't quite released everything that they need to. And the Nine of Wands in most decks talk about the wounded warrior. But when I look at this card, I don't know why, but it reminds, well, I know why. The statues in the back remind me of the Neverending Story when Atreyu was walking through them, and I forget the logistics of it, but they had like laser eyes or something. And it's in the reverse. So I feel like because it's in the reverse, this is talking about we're coming to a precipice, coming to a threshold, coming to the end of this cycle that we're going to be walking through. But in order to finish it, we have to do work on ourselves to get to where this full energy is. And a major part of getting to that is, you know, taking the time out to find yourself and to find your tribe. And you don't have to physically be with people to find your tribe. Finding the beauty in everything around you, finding the purposes of everything around you, including when it seems to be destructive. Reconnecting with nature and doing it your own way on your own terms, and completing these cycles that you've done over and over and over. And aren't you tired of doing it? Don't you got enough stuff? Aren't you decorated enough? Trust your animals, your guides to lead you where you're needed. And this cycle is stopping you from your abundance. And here is the dueling natures of yourself competing with each other. But if you embrace allowance and allow what comes in to come in and to process it and release it, you'll start to see things like you've never seen them before, and the universe will start to literally, as you walk, will lift to meet you. And that's this new doorway that we're headed to, this new place. And this new place isn't somewhere else. It's here in the 3D, but you can only access it through your mind, through your energy and heart and your chakras. Your chakras have to be aligned. And this whole process is all about getting your chakras in balance and aligned and working together. Because we're so fragmented right now that it's even hard to do shadow work because you get lost in it and you get stuck there and you don't know how to get back. But because there's less distractions going on in the world and we're taking this temporary pause out, this kind of work is happening faster and faster for those that want to participate in it. And I think about, you know, how we're stuck. We can't really go out and do the things that we used to do. But me personally, I never really did much to begin with. And now that there really isn't much to do, I don't feel like that I've missed much. And maybe for me personally, that was part of my cycle to make this part of my life easier for me, more bearable for me, because there really wasn't much out there for me to begin with. When I would go out and do things, you know, if it was something new, it'd be fun, but it would just get boring quick. Like, there was no magic, there was no lore. I don't know. It was ultimately boring to me. but I think part of that kind of prepared me for this. And I personally am just having so much fun, and I'm experiencing different things here and there. And instead of me being so distracted with the outside world and like a job and paying bills and oh, I gotta meet a friend here, I gotta do this and all that stuff, like that's still there, but there's no rush to do it because there literally is like nothing to do. I mean, there's stuff to do, but you know, and trust the cycles that the cycles that you're participating in serve a purpose. And you know, express and you know, allow yourself, give yourself a break. People are too hard on themselves and are so demanding of themselves and be like, oh, you made these goals and by this point in your life you're supposed to, I don't know, coming from a woman's perspective, you know, be married, have 2 kids, and like be making 6 figures or something. I don't know, something, whatever. You know, when I was a kid, the first thing I ever wanted to be was a singer. Even though I knew deep down that that wasn't ever going to happen because that's what I was told, pretty much. It's told like, yeah, good luck trying to be that. Not a lot of people get to do that and are actually get to do it and be famous and blah, 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 blah. But I didn't even really want to do it to be famous. I just wanted to do it because I love to sing. And then everyone else around me was just like, well, that's nice if you love to sing, but don't, you know, can't really do it professionally because, you know, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. And now we're back to, well, now I'm just singing. And I know that I'm just singing to sing because I like to sing. It's not, I'm singing for this ultimate goal and prestige. Definitely putting things back into focus. But yeah, so that's my reading. That's what I got for you, and I hope that you got something useful out of it. And thank you so much for watching. Appreciate the love and likes. Okay, see ya. Just